Hey, you guys, I think I got a grips on this next chapter, but I thought in case someone's new in this here, they're just not catching on to this. When we do things in this format of the worlds, it runs off the elements, the idea that earth, water, air, and fire, and in that order. Earth is the lower mind, water is actually the higher mind. The body is the third phase here, the air, and which is air. And then we have fire, which is going to be our mind, our spiritual mind. Now, in this particular chapter that we're going to run through real quick here, we're going to get this idea that God has brought Abram from his father's land of the Ur of Chaldees. Now, you look up what Chaldean is, what the Chaldeans means this is a place of robbers and thieves. And that's what usually occupies. This is where and he also is going to be telling him, because right now this is going to be number 14. Wait, 14 is 5, 15 is a 6. So 6 is the works. 6 represents the works. It usually represents the works. What we learned off the last chapter was this is an outside approach to an inside operation. But all the references are on surface, okay? Even what we're reading is on the surface. The letter itself is considered this place. Okay, so it hasn't ended yet. So it continues on into this next chapter. Now let's check it out real quick, all right? It goes on to chapter 15. Chapter 15, you put those together, that's a 6. So this is where we're going to find a few interesting things by reading it in the format of the worlds, okay? Now, after these things, all right, so another thing is that, this would be Taurus and Scorpio. Generally, there's a bird there. This is usually eagle. This is about flight. This is where birds show up. The skin, this is the nations. This is the body itself. And then we have our particular, how are you being controlled over, or is someone else, are you in control? Or, this is the idea of spiritual side of us. Is God a part of us, or is it something else? All right. So after these things, this is after the last ones, after all that, the word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision, saying, "Fear not, Abram, I am thy shield and thy exceedingly great reward." The first one. And Abram said, "Lord God, what wilt thou give me, seeing I go childless, and steward of my house is Eleanor of Damascus?" And Abram said, "Behold, to me thou hast given no seed, and lo, one born in my house is mine heir." And 4, and behold, the word of the Lord came unto him, saying, "This shall not be thine heir, but he that shall come forth out of thine own bowels shall be thine heir." All right. So, real quick, he hasn't got a seed. No one has this seed. No one has this. They really do have their child. Everyone has a soul in them, but this particular seed has been removed from everyone. Everyone has lost this first child of theirs, that firstborn, representing the seed. So he's, remember, this is about the spiritual side of us, okay? And so he hasn't gotten any of this stuff. So he on his own, he has no way of gaining this connection with God. God keeps coming to him, all right? And all of these things are outside things. So God, it's like God talks to him in a vision, or God comes to him from some kind of from the darkness while he's asleep or something like that. All right. So he brought forth and abroad and laid and said, look now towards heaven and tell the stars if thou be able to number them. And he said unto them, so shall thy seed be. So now it doesn't mean that he's going to be in charge of all these people. Stars represents the individual person itself. That's what he says. So each one of these are numbered. So yeah, this is the kind of talk that they're dealing with. This is going to be 5, a beginning of a whole new world. And he brought him forth abroad. So God has taken him on this trip. All right. He's not connected to God, but God has taken him on this little business trip of his. And he says, to tell the stars if they'll be able to number them. And he said unto them, so shall thy seed be. And he believed in the Lord, and he counted it to him for righteousness. This is number 6. 7. And he said unto him, I am the Lord that brought thee out of Ur of Chaldees, to give thee this land to inherit it. This is our land. I brought you out of the Ur of Chaldees to land this is to own yourself, to get back yourself. And he brought him out of his father's land. See, he is still out of his father's land. This whole time that you've been talking with me, and the story has been going on, he is still in the midst. They're still in this place. This is the only place, because, it's a spiritual thing, and these are spiritual people, that Abram is still this. He hasn't earned his crown yet. All right. He's being spoken to. This is that the idea that, you're going to be influenced by something. And he was at his father's house one day, and God, wake up. So he got this wake up call from God, and it hasn't stopped yet. It's still going on. All right. So 7 is a place where 7 is our body. Right here, number 7. And he said unto him, I am the Lord that brought thee out of the Ur of Chaldees. And the Ur of Chaldees, I've told you, is a place where his father came from, and that was full of den of thieves and robbers. Okay? And then he asked him, what shall I inherit? 9. And he said unto them, take me a heifer of 3 years old, and a she-goat, and a ram, and a turtle dove, and a pigeon. All right, so here's 5. Bring me 5 things, and each one of those is representing what? The body. It's representing the person itself. Those are 5 senses. Give us all these things, okay? Bring these things, and we'll see what happens. So we get 11, all right? Let's see, 8. This would be 9. Take me a heifer. So he says, so bring these things together. So he took them all these things. So he took them all these things and divided them in the midst. That means he cut them all in half. But the birds he did not divide. All right. Then we get to 12. 12 is usually an intervention number. 12 because it represents 3. And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and lo, a horror of great darkness fell upon him. This is where, something happens, falls asleep. Remember, God told him to do these things. He says, I'm going to show you a few things. Check this out, you guys. So at 12, the sun went down. This is the Lord's day, would be all this in the spot there. It's always dark. Number 13 is going to bring us back over here. And he said unto Abram, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. Number 13, God is telling him that his seed is going to wind up working for someone else. That's what this is saying, okay? It says it's going to be a stranger in a land that is not theirs. That's when inside of the seed that is inside of us, the land is the outside of us, the land that is not theirs. We have been given over to our aggressors. God has already taken us, given us over to someone else. So this is this idea that he says, he said unto Abram, know assuredly that thy seed shall be a stranger in the land that is not theirs, and shall serve them. He has to, and has to serve whoever it is that he's bringing forth, all right? So this is very interesting, okay? Now watch. Now that's everybody on earth has that going on. We're not going to be ourselves at first. We have to be someone else's, all right? So we get to 14, 14 representing 5. And also that nation whom they serve will I judge. This is that nation. This is he's going to judge this one too. This, whoever they serve. Because that's representing the spiritual side of us. It really is. This, if we are serving, it's going to be in this place. All right? Because it's the kundalini or an outside bitch that we're going to be serving. All right? We're going to be either going to mother or something else. All right? In replace of her. And that nation whom they shall serve, I will judge. So this is our second beast get judged. Okay? And afterwards shall they come out with great substance. That's showing you that it's a good thing. When we go through this judgment of God, a great thing is going to happen to us. Okay? But in the 4th generation they shall come hither again, for their iniquities of the Amorites is not yet full. This is number 7. The flesh has to come back again before it's all over with, because it ain't done. Their works are not done. And it came to pass. Is this it? Yeah. 12, 13, 14, 15. But in the 4th generation they shall come hither again. They shall gather again. For the iniquities of the Amorites is not yet full. And then we have 17, 18, 19, 20. 13, 14, 15, 16, then 17, 18, 19. All right. 17. And it came to pass that when the sun went down and it was dark, beholding a smoking furnace and a burning lamp that passed between those pieces. That's between these pieces. All right. Let's see what happens. And in the same day, this is 18, which is to be a 9. And in the same day the Lord made a covenant with Abraham, saying, unto thy seed I will give this land. From the river of Egypt to the great river of the Euphrates. So they're talking about an inside thing, you know. He's given him from his head to his toes is what he's going to be getting. But this should be over here, all right? But this is where we get, let's see, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 16 was the end, so 17. 17, it came to pass when the sun went down. Remember, this is the sun. When the sun went down, and it was dark, beholding a smoking furnace and a burning lamp that passed between those pieces. So, again, this is an outside thing. It's like it's being haunted, all right? And then we get on the same day, the Lord made a covenant with Abraham and to thy seed that he will give this land from Egypt to all the rivers, all the waters are there. He will be given everything from the top to the bottom, all right? And then number 19, we get the Canaanites, the Kizzites, and the Cadmonites. Must be people. the Hittites, the Prislites, and the Rephrabiums, or something like that. And then at the end, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Gashites, and the Jebusites. Number 23, or number 21, the very end. So what we're getting out of this part of the Bible is that he's been given all right. Did we do all of these? I'm sure we did. So what it is it's another situation where he's been asked to bring in 5 things that's going to represent the body, and he was supposed to cut them all in half. All right, which is going to be representing an outside view of separating the flesh from whatever is within it. But with the birds, he left alone because there is no birds. He left them alone. But when these birds, when the fowls of the air, which comes right next to this, after you make this sacrifice, when the fowls of the air came to land on the carcass, he brushed them away. All right, he's not going to let these these eagles take this carcass away. This is an outside approach. He saw them as something that's coming in to eat this stuff, and immediately he falls into peril and he goes into darkness and he has this dream. So this is showing you a physical interpretation of what would happen to him on the inside. And so he would see that there is some kind of a fire burning between the two, fire and smoke, and it makes him scared. Because the day of the Lord is a scary thing, and you have to fear the Lord. But we know that once this particular part is over, everything will be just fine. So he has this on number 12, which would represent a 3. This is when the sun is going down. A deep sleep fell upon Abram. All right. This is right after he just did this here on number 11. 11 represents number 2, which is our body. All right. And he's like this. He's saying, oh, get away from here, you birds. And so when the sun went down and a deep sleep fell over Abraham, and lo, horror of great darkness fell upon him. This is the day of the Lord showing up. All right. And he said unto Abram, he says, now surely thy seed. So this is him talking with God. So you'll see that also the nation of whom that they shall serve, I will judge. So this one's telling us about the people that they're going to judge. He's telling them that his child is not going to be his own. It's going to wind up serving someone else. It's going to wind up serving someone else. And this is what he's telling them. And that he has to do that for a little while. Because what we'll find at the end of this is because the time has not come yet for us to be able to do that. But there's this burning lamp that passes between the two of them. And the burning lamp is a highlight or of talking about this idea that between the two lands, between the left side of the brain and the right side of the brain, is this smoky thing, this smoky little thing that we have to go through first. And that's going to represent our Kundalini. But again, it's an outside thing. It ain't happened yet. All right? So I hope this is helping you. I hope you're understanding this. Okay? All right? Real quick. Earth, water, air, fire. This is the land. This is the sea. This is the earth. This is heaven. All right? This is our flesh. This is our spiritual mind or not. Remember, we came from the Earl of Chaldees. That was the beginning of the story. I brought you out of here. And I'm bringing you to this land. And that land showed up here. I brought you to yourself. You're allowed to. I'm looking to give you this. But he just told him in this last story that, your seed's not going to belong to you. It's going to belong to them. And they will have him for a long time. So he's saying that his son will be going into captivity. All right. And he has none. But he says, but we're going to get something that's going to come from you yourself. It's going to be your heir. But she says, hey, I got no son, I got nothing. My wife, she's barren, stuff like that. Well, let's hear how it all works out. Okay, but anyways. See it. Does that work? Did it work? Is it off? Oh, it's not off. Here we go. I'm going backwards.